Beneath the blazing sun of ancient Rome, where the sand drank the blood of the fallen, there existed men whose names would echo through eternity. They were not kings, nor soldiers, nor emperors, but slaves, prisoners, and outcasts transformed into living legend. In the heart of the Colosseum, where 50,000 voices roared like thunder, they faced death with steel in their hands and fire in their souls. These were the champions of Rome, the warriors of flesh and fate, the gladiators whose battles forged stories that time itself could never erase. In the heart of an empire that ruled the known world stood an arena where men became gods, and gods fell to their knees. The Colosseum, its colossal stone arches stretched toward the heavens like the hands of Titan. A place where 50,000 voices merge into one relentless roar, where the air trembles beneath chants of blood and glory. Inside, the sun glares upon sands already drenched with the memories of the fallen, and yet the people come. Day after day they gather, rich and poor, noble and slave, united by a single hunger, the spectacle. A horn echoes, the gates groan open. From the darkness below, a figure steps into the blinding light. His chest rises and falls beneath layers of sweat, scars, and silent prayers. Chains once bound his wrists, but now steel defines his destiny. He does not come as a free man, he comes as a gladiator. His feet sink into the sand, sand that remembers the cries of 1,000 deaths. Beneath him, the ground carries whispers of agony and triumph, of warriors who came before him and never left. The crowd chants, voices colliding like thunder rolling across the Tiber. They do not know his name. They do not care. Here, identity is irrelevant. Only survival matters. Across the arena, another emerges. Perhaps a barbarian captured in Rome's endless conquests. Perhaps a criminal, condemned by fate, offered redemption through violence. Or perhaps another slave like him standing on the edge of life and death. Their eyes meet, and in that gaze lies everything. Fear, defiance, and the unspoken understanding that only one may walk away. Then silence. The world holds its breath. A signal is given, and the chaos begins. Steel clashes against steel. Shields shatter beneath the force of merciless blow. Every strike carries the weight of desperation. Every breath teeters between existence and oblivion. The sound of bone meeting blade drowns beneath the roar of the masses. These men do not fight for kings. They do not fight for Rome. They fight for one fragile promise, another sunrise. Above, in the imperial box, an emperor watches. With the flick of a hand, he decides the fate of men who have fought with everything they have left. A raised thumb, mercy, a turned thumb, silence forever. But within this pit of savagery, there is more than death, there is glory. For the lucky few, the arena transforms from a prison into a throne. A single victory can ignite legends, carving names into the stones of eternity. Men born as slaves become heroes, prisoners become champions, and champions become gods in the eyes of Rome. The Colosseum is more than an arena. It is a mirror, reflecting the empire's power, cruelty, and hunger for greatness. Here, blood feeds ambition and screams fuel history. Every drop spilled, every sword raised, every breath stolen beneath the sun is a reminder immortality is not given. It is earned in the sand beneath the roar of Rome. In a world where freedom was a dream, one man dared to awaken it. Far from the marble palaces of Rome, in a dusty Thracian village, a man is taken, chained, branded, and sold like cattle. He is thrown into a gladiator school, a brutal prison where the weak are broken and the strong are sharpened into weapons. Day after day he is beaten, starved, and trained to kill, not for honor, not for choice, but for the amusement of others. But within this man burns a fire Rome could not extinguish. Every lash, every drop of blood, every roar of the crowd, they forged not submission, but rebellion. One night, under the pale glow of the moon, whispers pass between chained men. Plans are drawn in silence, hopes stitched together in fragments. Then it begins. With kitchen knives, stolen swords, and nothing but desperation in their hearts, 70 gladiators rise against their masters. The sand that once drank their blood now drinks that of their captors, shade. Doors burst open. The slaves of the arena are slaves no more. They flee into the mountains, hunted like animals, yet united in purpose. Word spreads like wildfire, and of slaves join them. Men and women who have tasted Rome's cruelty and longed for a world where their lives are their own. From a handful of rebels, they become an army. And at their heart stands the man Rome will come to fear most. With nothing but raw courage and sharpened instinct, he leads them into battle after battle. Roman legions, disciplined, armored, and invincible, fall before him. His strategies are brilliant, his spirit unbreakable. To the oppressed he is hope. To Rome he is a nightmare made flesh. The Senate trembles, generals are dispatched, entire legions march against him. Yet still he endures, a symbol of defiance, a reminder that even the mightiest empire crush the will of a free man. But victory is a fickle thing. For every battle won, Rome grows more ruthless. As the rebellion swells to over 70,000 souls, betrayal festers in the shadows. Divided councils, dwindling supplies, and relentless Roman pursuit bleed the rebels from within. Surrounded, outnumbered, and exhausted, their dream begins to fracture beneath the weight of reality. And yet he fights on. In his final stand, he faces the full force of Rome. 8 legions strong, iron crashing against iron, the screams of thousands drowning beneath the roar of war. He knows the odds, he knows the price. But surrender is not in his nature. Better to die with a sword in his hand than live on his knee. When the dust settles, the rebellion lies broken. Bodies scatter across the field, the dream buried beneath the weight of Roman steel. The man who dared to defy an empire vanishes into history, his body never found, his spirit unclaimed, and yet Rome does not win. For though his rebellion fell, his name ignited a fire across centuries. He became more than a man. He became a symbol of resistance, of courage, of the unyielding human spirit. Empires rise and empires fall, but the memory of those who stood against them, even in the face of certain death, endures forever. In the heart of an empire built on blood and ambition, there rose a ruler who believed he was more than a man. Born into power, he sat upon the golden throne of the world's greatest empire. Marble halls whispered his name, and legions marched at his command. Yet for all his wealth and all his glory, he sought something greater, something no emperor had ever dared claim before, immortality through the sands of the arena. For this man was not content to rule Rome, he wanted Rome to worship him. The Colosseum, the grand stage of life and death, became his temple, and he itself proclaimed God. Where emperors once watched, he descended, stepping barefoot onto the sands where thousands had bled before him. The crowd stared in awe and horror, for never had an emperor lowered himself to become the very spectacle he commanded. But make no mistake, this was no act of courage, this was an act of ego. With lions pacing their cages and steel glinting beneath the sun, he entered the arena dressed as Hercules reborn. Lion skin upon his shoulders, club in hand, arrows at his side. He saw himself not as mortal flesh, but as destiny made real. Yet the truth was far darker. His opponents, handpicked, starved, beaten, and terrified before the fight even began. Their swords dulled, their shields splintered. They were brought to die, not to win. And so, with a single thrust of his blade, the emperors of victories piled upon each other, blood feeding his vanity. Still, the people cheered, at first. For there was spectacle in power. There was awe in watching a god descend among mortals. But awe soon gave way to unease. Whispers filled the streets. Rome loved its gladiators, but an emperor who craved the roar of the crowd more than the respect of his people, that was something else entirely. As his obsession deepened, his cruelty sharpened. Those who opposed him were silenced, sometimes on the Senate floor, sometimes on the very sands of the Colosseum. He believed himself untouchable, invincible, eternal. But pride has a way of blinding even the greatest rulers. In the shadows, Rome began to turn against him. Plots brewed in secret chambers. Generals whispered in coded tongues. Allies became traitors, and the empire he claimed to control slowly slipped from his grasp. When the end came, it came not with the roar of the Colosseum, but with the silence of betrayal. Strangled in his chambers, his reign ended as abruptly as it began. Yet his story lingers, carved into the memory of Rome's eternal rise and fall. He sought glory through the blood of others. He wanted the immortality of a god, but found only the mortality of a man. And so, the emperor who dreamed of eternity became a cautionary tale, a reminder that power without restraint leads not to ruin. Not every gladiator became a legend, but every drop of blood they spilled carved a story into the sands of time. Beneath the shadow of Rome's towering Colosseum, beyond the banners of emperors and the chants of roaring crowds, there walked men whose names history tried to forget. Yet some fought with such relentless courage, such unshakable will, that even centuries later, their spirits refused to fade. Listen closely, and you will hear them. The first, Flamma, a Syrian-born warrior captured and enslaved, trained to die in the arena, yet death never claimed him. 4 times Rome offered him freedom, the wooden sword of release placed in his hand, and 4 times he refused. Why? Because the arena was no longer his prison, it was his destiny. For 34 brutal battles, he faced the edge of death and walked away. Not because he loved the empire, but because he would rather die with purpose than live in silence. Then there was Crixus, a name carried by whispers of rebellion. Once a slave of Gaulish blood, he became one of Rome's fiercest fighters, his strength unmatched, his spirit untamed. But when he met Spartacus within the blood-stained sands, destiny changed. Together they rose against their masters, defying the empire itself. Crixus fought not for survival, but for vengeance, until his final breath spilled upon the battlefield, his dream of freedom carried forward by those who followed. And then the duel that became legend, Priscus and Verus. 2 gladiators evenly matched, locked in a contest that defied the very meaning of victory. Under the watchful eye of Emperor Titus they fought, hour after hour, strike after strike, refusing to surrender. The crowd roared until voices became hoarse, the sands turned crimson beneath their feet. And when exhaustion finally overtook them, something remarkable happened. Neither man fell, neither man yielded. And for the first time in Rome's brutal history, both were crowned champions. 2 men entered as slaves and walked out as legends, their names etched into eternity. But not every tale ended in triumph. Many gladiators fought only to be forgotten, unnamed warriors whose bodies fed the earth, whose screams were lost beneath the roar of 50,000 voices. Yet in every cut, every scar, every victory and defeat, they carried within them the story of Rome itself. Power, cruelty, resilience and hope. For these men were more than entertainers. They were symbols of human endurance. Every strike of the sword, every shattered shield, every breath drawn beneath the burning sun, it was a testament to the unbreakable will to live, and the desperate yearning to be remembered. When you walk the ruins of the Colosseum today, silence lingers where once the crowd thundered. The blood has dried, the banners have fallen, and yet, if you listen carefully, you can almost hear the clash of steel, the roar of warriors, and the whispers of those who fought to leave their mark upon the world. And though centuries have passed, the spirit of these men remains immortal. Not in stone, not in statues, but in the timeless truth they live by, that even in chains the heart can be free. The sounds have long since turned to dust, but the echoes of the Colosseum still linger in the wind. The roar of 50,000 voices has faded into silence. The banners of emperors have fallen. The blood of warriors has dried beneath the Roman sun. Yet even now, when you walk through the broken arches of that ancient arena, you can feel them. Their presence clings to the stones. Their stories still breathe beneath the weight of centuries. For the gladiators were never just fighters. They were the beating heart of Rome. Every clash of steel was more than survival. Every drop of blood was more than sacrifice. They were symbols of courage, defiance, and the unyielding spirit of man against fate itself. In life, many were slaves, prisoners, and outcasts, men stripped of their names and choices. Yet in death they became legends. Eternal flames burning through time. They rose from anonymity and carved themselves into history, proving that immortality does not belong to emperors and kings alone, but to those who dare to stand against fear. Some, like Spartacus, defied it. Others, like Flamma, chose the sands again and again, refusing freedom itself. And some, like Priscus and Verus, fought not for victory, but for honor, earning the respect of Rome and each other. These warriors taught the world a truth Rome itself could not erase. Glory is not given. It is earned beneath fire, beneath steel, beneath the roar of 1,000 voices. And yet the legacy of the gladiators stretches beyond history, beyond the ruins, beyond the dust. Their spirit lives within us even now. It lives in every athlete who pushes past exhaustion. It lives in every soldier who stands on the edge of life and death. It lives in every soul who refuses to surrender, even when the world tells them they've already lost. The Colosseum may stand silent, but the lesson remains. We are all gladiators. Each of us walks into our own arena, facing battles no one else can see. For some, the enemy is fear. For others, it is doubt, hunger, or despair. And like the warriors of Rome, we are given a choice: to fall or to rise. Close your eyes and listen. Do you hear it? The distant rumble, the faint roar, the heartbeat of history. Those men still fight. They fight through us, through every act of courage, through every refusal to kneel, through every soul who dares to dream beyond the impossible. And so, the gladiators of Rome live on, not in statues, not in ruins, but in the unbreakable human spirit, eternal, untamed and unforgotten. The Colosseum stands silent now, but the echoes of its warriors still roar across time. These men, once slaves, prisoners and outcasts, became legends, proving that courage is not born from privilege, but from the will to rise when the world demands you fall. Their blood carved stories into stone. Their screams became the music of history, and their legacy became eternal. But their battles are not just history. They are a reminder to you that within every heart lies a gladiator. Every challenge you face, every fear you confront, every dream you chase against all odds, this is your arena, and like them, you have a choice: fall or rise. The sands of Rome have long turned to dust, but the spirit of the gladiator lives on. In you, in me, in all of us who dare to fight for something greater than ourselves. If you felt the power of their story, if you walk these ancient sands with me, join us, Hittite to honor their memory. Drop a comment below. Tell me which gladiator story moved you the most. And if you hunger for more tales of ancient Rome, power, rebellion, and legends that shaped our world, subscribe now and step into the arena with us again. Because this is only the beginning. For history does not belong to those who watch from the shadows, but to those who step into the light.